Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is a book haul from Princeton University Press. So twice a year, Princeton University Press has 75% off sale on select books, and I picked some up, so I figured I'd just show you really quickly the ones that I got. I don't know a huge amount about these. They're just ones that really piqued my interest, and the price was right. So if you know anything about these, I'd certainly love to hear what you think and, what I can expect. And yeah, just thought I'd show them off. So here we go. The first one, little book. We got the Jefferson Bible, a biography by Peter Manseau. This is Lives of the Great Religious Books series. So I've read quite a few books on Thomas Jefferson. I think that he's a really fascinating person. Flawed, yeah, absolutely. But really interesting nonetheless. Somebody I like to read about quite a bit. And one of the things that he did, kind of like later on in life, I believe, he essentially, you can kind of, I guess you can see it on there. You might not be able to make it out, but he edited his own copy of the Bible, the New Testament at least, and he essentially took out, I think by hand, I think he cut it out and was gluing. He took out references and descriptions of Jesus being divine or magical or anything like that, and he just kept basically the life and the teachings. I think he called it some of the life and moral teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. Again, something like that. My memory might be a little bit fuzzy. So, there's often a debate within the U.S. of how religious the founding fathers were, how much of a Christian nation is America meant to be. Well, I mean, Jefferson, we can kind of see there. He was not a particularly religious person. You couldn't call these guys atheists. This is before Darwin. Atheism would not have been in vogue, would not have been a philosophically, a tenable position, because there wasn't enough to explain the world really at that point. So Jefferson, he was an atheist, but I mean, most of these guys, at least a lot of them were theists or deists. They weren't necessarily religious in the way that we understand them. So I thought this would be really interesting. It looks like it's the creation of this Jefferson Bible, but also the kind of life that it had afterwards and the way people have talked about it and discussed it, and the place that it's had, I guess, in American political and religious conversation. So this seemed really interesting. This might be a book that I read for quarter 3 of Historathon, where we read nonfiction history throughout the year, and each quarter looks at a different time period. Quarter 3 does look at the years 1500 to 1820. I could read it for that, or May is also a month for maybe Midrash. Last year, that event didn't officially go, but I did it anyway, and I plan to do it again this year. I hope that it goes officially, but maybe Midrash is where people in May look at books on religion. So usually I think the regular prompt is a work of nonfiction, a work of fiction, but it's works that deal seriously with religion. And this is a contender for that. So maybe. I'm not sure exactly what my plan is going to be. Another one I picked up was this. The Owl and the Nightingale, a new verse translation by Simon Armitage. Now, this is a medieval, again, like I don't know a huge amount about these things. This is a medieval poem. Let me see. It's in Middle English. So it's one of the earliest literary works in Middle English. And it's one that I really didn't know much about. I think I vaguely heard of it at one point, but I really don't know much about this at all. But for the price, I thought, yeah, I'll check it out. And this is something I can read for quarter 2 of Historathon, which looks at the years 500 CE to 1500. So this is kind of cool. And you have on one side, you've got the Middle English, and on the other, you've got the translation. So I think this is something that I might read for that. But again, I don't really know what to expect. I don't know a lot about this. But again, I kind of like the Princeton always had really, really nice cover designs. I like this one too. I also picked up this one, Fears of a Setting Sun, The Disillusionment of America's Founders by Dennis Rasmussen. So from what I understand, I think that this is about the founding fathers in their twilight years and fretting for what's going to be happening to the country and whether or not the republic will last. Now, I know a little bit about this. I know some of them were dismayed with sort of the religious revivalism. Some of them were, like Adams, I think, was worried about the loss of people's, feeling or commitment to civic duty. There were a lot of things, slavery, of course, could be another issue that they were worried about. So just them in their later years worried that this great experiment that they put into motion would not last. So this seems like it'd be a really interesting contender for quarter three again. This next one, I'm sorry, I didn't mention these are all history books because that's my main bread and butter when it comes to history, to reading. I love nonfiction history. This one's a little bit dirty, so yeah, I don't know if I can clean it up, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I don't know if it's dirt or if it's part of the design. I'll have to check it out later. But this is The Lost History of Liberalism from Ancient Rome to the 21st Century by Elena Rosenblatt. So I'll just read a little bit of the back of this one because I don't know if I could really explain it well. It says, the lost history of liberalism challenges our most basic assumptions about a political creed that has become a rallying cry and a term of derision in today's increasingly divided public square. Taking readers from ancient Rome to today, Helena Rosenblatt traces the evolution of the words liberal and liberalism, revealing the heated debates that have taken place over their meaning. So I'll stop right there. You can get the gist there. So it's basically looking at the concept of liberalism and how it's shifted and what part it's played, I guess, in political dialogue. So it seems like it could be cool. I guess this could fit into any of the quarters, which is nice. Quarter 1 through 4. So it touches on all of them. And I should say, I am somebody who considers myself liberal, although I don't necessarily align myself with a lot of people who are considering themselves these days leftist or progressive. But I guess I'm more, a little more old school liberal, left of center sort of person. But I do think that the word liberal is not something to be shunned. It is not something to be derided. I think it's done some great things in the world, and I wish that it would, be able to be said with more confidence and respect in our country. And lastly, picked up this one, a thicker guy. So, but it seemed like a really interesting story. So we've got the Riddle of the Rosetta, how an English polymath and a French polyglot discovered the meaning of Egyptian hieroglyphs. This is by two authors. We got like a Buchwald and Josefowicz. Yeah, Josefowicz. I can't say that. So anyway, you can see the names on there. So this is looking at late 18th century, I think, early 19th century. The two people that ended up being responsible for us being able to read the Rosetta Stone and finally decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. This is not something I know a lot about. I'm just vaguely aware that it happened. But I think it's kind of cool it seemed like it would be a cool idea to read a history about how we were able to unlock deeper history. So layers of history, way that we were able to open up the door and see this, this long gone ancient world for the first time. Just seemed like it'd be a really fascinating story. It is a thicker book, so I guess this is a pretty involved story. This is, again, a possibility for quarter 3. I'm not entirely sure that I'll be able to get to it this year, but once again, cool cover design and a pretty cool topic. So those are the books that I picked up from Princeton University Press. So, as usual, I always say the same thing, but say it for a reason. If you've read any of these, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you, BookTube.